first day on the job, you're very proficient and skilled at what you do. You've been getting compliments all day long, stating that this is your first day and they're surprised at how well you excel. And right before lunch, your boss comes and says he needs to speak to you immediately in his office. So you go to the office. On your way there, you're wondering, what have you did wrong? Is this something that, what's going on? You're just having these thoughts. You're going to the boss's office. And when you get there, the boss compliments you and says that he's very proud of your work experience and your work performance. So he gives you a hug, asks you to sit down, rubs your shoulders, then puts his arms around you and tells you that he is promoting you to a higher position with higher pay. Don't worry about the rest of the day, because right now y'all are going to lunch. Let's go. And it's all on me. Right then you have a joyful moment in your mind. You're like, wow, this is too good to be true. But then in the back of your head, you're like, oh God, she put her hands around me. He put his hands around me and rubbed my shoulders and gave me a hug, and I just felt uncomfortable. That moment when you felt that uncertainty, something wasn't right, you faced sexual harassment and were a victim. Sexual harassment is sexual discrimination, which violates, if you didn't know, the Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964. NPR.org states that 81% of women have been sexually assaulted, with only 38% being at the workplace. I think that men and women both should educate themselves on what sexual harassment is. They need to take it seriously. And if they have that type of pull, encourage their human resources, their heads, on sexual harassment training monthly and signing a sexual harassment policy and abiding by it. So I'll tell you how to identify sexual harassment, what it is. I'll tell you how to handle it or prevent it, and I also tell you what to do after experiencing sexual harassment on the workplace, at the workplace. Like I said, men and women both experience sexual assault or harassment at the workplace. There's two types: quid pro quo and hostile work environment. Quid pro quo is, I'll give you a job advance, higher pay, higher position in exchange for a sexual encounter or on a date. And hostile work environment is where you have persons that constantly show you nudity, provocative images that offend you, or somebody repeatedly asking you out on a date, and also somebody that is touching you inappropriately could be considered hostile work environment. It's actually unwanted, unwelcome sexual advances that can be physical or verbal, if you didn't know. The EEOC says that 12,000 claims of sexual harassment at the workplace have been reported in 2019, and 7,500 were reported in 2018, which tells you that this is an ongoing concern. It's something that happens regularly. Now I've told you what sexual harassment at the workplace is. Now I'll be telling you what you can do to prevent it or handle it. You want to tell the abuser stop. You want to nip it in the bud. You want to follow appropriate chain of commands. You want to not wait too long. Don't wait longer than 180 days, because state law gives you 180 days to act upon it, act upon the sexual harassment. And then you want to write a formal complaint, make a copy of it, give it to the appropriate departments. And that way they will know to take this seriously. This matter does not need to be brushed off. Now, I've told you different ways to prevent it and handle it. Now I'll tell you ways that you can handle and take care of yourself after experiencing sexual harassment. So don't blame yourself. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. 9 times out of 10, if the harassment occurred to you, it's happened to someone else. Educate yourselves. Educate yourselves. We sit there, we watch YouTube videos all day long. Pull up sexual harassment at the workplace by the OSHA safety training preview only, and familiarize yourself on what sexual harassment is. If this is your first job, you don't know, and you see different people playing and doing stuff like that, know that sexual harassment is serious and you could be held liable for violating the Title VII. You want to talk to somebody that you can trust. You can journal, write it down, but take care of yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally. That way, you won't get down and depressed and feel, awkward and uneasy. Try to pull yourself out of that. Find you somebody you can confide in. When you talk about it, write it down. That helps with handling it emotionally, mentally, and physically. Stay active. So, I encourage you to educate yourselves on sexual harassment. UMass study estimates that 5.7 people are affected with sexual harassment at the workplace, but only 25 to 40% actually report it, which is underreported. It happens, but people are afraid to speak out. I've identified what sexual harassment is at the workplace. I've told you ways to prevent and handle it, and I've also told you what to do after sexual harassment occurs at the workplace. Now, I encourage you to educate yourself on sexual harassment. You watch YouTube videos all day anyway. Why not educate yourself to help you, others, or your loved ones who may be feeling uncertain in that moment in time and not be aware of what sexual harassment is and that it is a violation